Hey everyone, so today we're going to be transforming this room here from this into something that's going to look pretty amazing with this Flooret flooring here. Now this is the Flooret Modin Signature Series luxury vinyl flooring, and what's awesome is this vinyl plank is really wide, really long, which is what I was looking for. 6 feet long, 9 inches wide, and it's vinyl, so it's going to withstand water, going to be pretty water resistant. You don't have to worry about it swelling and warping if you get it wet. This is one of our highest traffic rooms because we come in through this door here when we come home, when we leave, and we don't want to track that water in onto a wood floor. So I was very picky about what I was going to put in this room. If you guys watched my flooring video I did upstairs a few years ago, I just used a cheap flooring, but that was upstairs. We wear our socks, we don't wear shoes, we knew it wasn't going to get wet, so it was fine, but we wanted to put something really durable, really good quality in this room. So today we're going to walk you through the installation of this, see what it takes to install this flooring, and just show you what it looks like before, which is what you see now, and what it's going to look like after. I do want to mention that they did send me this floor to test out and review, and when they reached out to me, I said absolutely, because it's been years since I've had flooring in this room. I've kind of been procrastinating it because I've been using this room for e-bike storage, power stations, and everything I've been testing on YouTube, because it's just very convenient for me to, go in and outside out of this room. Like I said, it's our main entry point of the house. But when they reached out to me, I said, send me some samples, and if I like the quality, I'll go ahead and make a video. So I had them send me all the colors that I thought I might like. And if you guys are interested in any samples, I'll leave a link down below. And if you use this code above, you'll get 50% off your sample order. And they have a ton of different colors to choose from, way more than this right here. And I want to tell you guys that I was super impressed with this floor, and I'll show you why. So this is their flooring here. I was able to peel back the wear layer. Now it's a 40 mil wear layer, and you can see how thick that is there. This is a flooring from a competitor. I believe this one is from another online store that I've gotten a while ago, but look how thin that wear layer is on this one compared to this one. You can kind of hear it in the clicking too. Pretty thin, pretty thick. So that's one main reason why I wanted to go with this flooring. That's probably a little bit overkill for me being residential, to be honest, but I believe they have a lifetime warranty on residential and a pretty good warranty for commercial as well. So you guys might want to check that out. But they sent me these samples here, and I was not sure what I wanted after I got the samples, but the one I was most interested in was the Raeburn, and this is Raeburn, and so is this. And being that it had so many different variations in the color of this, I was kind of unsure if that's what we wanted to go with, or if we wanted to go with something more solid, more brownish like this one. So what I did was I had them send me a whole box, which you guys can order. So if you can't make up your mind, get yourself a whole box. You'll get 5 planks wide, which is a really big area here. And this will definitely help you make your decision if this floor is right for you. And another cool feature about this floor is it has a nice backing on it, so you don't have to worry about putting an underlayment down. It's attached directly to the board, which will save you a little bit of time and make it a little easier. Now you do want to make sure your floor is fairly level. You want to make sure you don't have a bunch of gaps or dips in it. Now I do have a few spots in my floor that I have to secure a little bit. I believe there's one about right here that creaks. So I'm going to want to make sure that I go in my basement, glue that, and put some extra screws in right here to make sure I get rid of all them creaks before I lay this floor over top. And I don't know if you can hear that, but I got a little squeak here as well that I'm going to have to secure before I put that flooring over this area also. All right, so I had to do a little bit of prep work first. This is an addition to my house. So I had this little area here where these French doors used to be. So once I removed those, I only put them up here temporarily. I'm going to get a nice set of interior doors, but I had to frame this out to cover the area where my existing wall was. And then I actually had a heat duct in here from my new furnace blowing into my kitchen here. So what I did was I framed this out so that it would cover coming down to this tile floor. And then I took a piece of flooring here and I cut this down, which I'm going to use as this riser. So it's going to fit nicely here. And then my flooring will come over to the top of this. And then I'll use a end cap here to cover this, which is a stair cap. However, I don't know how I'm going to attach that yet, so stick around if you guys want to see that. But for this piece here, I'm going to glue it onto this OSB board that I put here to cover this. So I peeled the foam backing off of this, and then I'm going to just glue this right onto this OSB board here, and that'll be a nice face for this step. and I used a darker piece of that Raeburn flooring so that it matched this floor a little bit better. And then I'm going to take a piece of their matching quarter round, which this stuff is plastic. It's not going to swell or rot if it gets wet. And then I'm going to put that down right there, and it's going to cover that gap really nicely. All right, everyone, so I have everything laid out. What I did was I ran plank from this wall and used the samples, ran it to this wall to see how the plank fit in between. And it works out almost perfect between these two walls. So all I have to do is trim a little bit off of this plank on this wall, and then I should either have to trim a little bit off of this one or it's gonna work out perfect. But once I got it laid out, I chalked this blue line right here to line up with the edge of the first plank. So all I have to do is trim a little bit off of this plank to go around this wall here, because you wanna leave a 1/4 inch gap around all your walls or anything you go around. That way it leaves a little bit of room for expansion and contraction so your floor doesn't buckle in temperature changes. And typically you wanna lay your plank long ways with the long part of your room to make your room look a little bit bigger. And I should end with about a 7-inch piece along this wall here and this wall here. The only thing is I'll probably end up with about a 1-inch piece right here going into this doorway. But I think that's gonna be okay. And layout is probably one of the biggest things you wanna take your time on and make sure everything fits correctly. Time to start installing. All right, so we're on the 3rd row here, and what I found the easiest was to line the whole row out, lock the short ends together first, keep it pretty much up on the seam where you gotta lock it in, and then just, if you have help, have the next person get it at the next seam and just tilt it up, down in, and then you wanna tap it lightly with this tapping block. And this is a kit that you can get on Amazon. I'll leave a link down below in the description where you guys can pick this up. But it comes with the plastic shims there. And it'll also come with this bar, which is essential when you hit your short ends to tighten up the short ends of the plank. Fairly cheap, but like I said, I'll leave a link down below. Highly recommended to pick up a set of these. But like I said, you just work your way down the long seam here, tilting it up a little bit and tapping it until it lays flat. And you want to make sure that it is laying flat. If not, your short seam may not be together, so you might have to tap the long end this way, but you want to make sure everything's laying nice and flat. All right, guys, so we're on like the 4th row now, and this is all the scrap that I have from up until this point. What you want to do is the piece that you cut off the one end, you want to start with on your next end. And what that's going to do is that's going to give you the seam that you need for it to lock together, and the part that you cut off is going to go up against the wall, and that's going to give you less waste. Now, if your end piece that you cut off is smaller than 8 inches, then you're going to want to start with a full plank again. You really don't have to worry about too much where your seams are lining up. You just don't want them to be uniform or like an H pattern, because that's probably not going to look good. But these should be pretty staggered, so we're going to keep rolling with it. And so far, I think it's looking amazing. Let me know down below in the comments what you guys think. All right, everyone, so we made it over to the 6th row here, and I just want to show you what you want to do real quick. Is you want to open up multiple boxes, especially if you get boxes from different lots, but you really want to try to get them all from the same lot. So you want to open multiple boxes so you can spread out your different colors. What we did was we separated them between the like 2-tone ones, the dark ones, and the light ones, 3 to 4 different stacks. And then we're laying out 3 rows here, dry, not put together, so we could see how it's going to look before we actually install it. That way, if we want to switch some boards around, we could do that and get the look before we actually put it together. That way you don't get too many light plank or dark plank together at the same time. But I did find an easier way to put it together. Let me show you. So instead of having 2 different people holding the seams up, it's pretty easy to do yourself. Once you get the first piece in and locked in, get your second one up on the seam and get the short end locked in, and then just tilt it up a little bit and work it in there, and just keep doing that all the way down. You almost don't even have to tap it with a hammer if you get it to go in good, but you just want to get it in until it lays flat, and then you just keep doing that down the line here. Tilt it up, lock the short edge in, make sure it's all the way in, then just tilt it up slightly and work it in there on the long end. Just keep doing that all the way down the row. You can see how that lays nice and flat once you get it locked in. So if it's up like this and not down all the way, it's not locked in all the way. So just get it, wiggle it in there, and see now it's down nice and flat. But very essential that everything lays flat. You don't want to force it. You could tap it with that block, but I found it pretty easy to just wiggle it together And working one board at a time like this, it's going pretty smooth. So let's keep installing. All right, everyone, so this is probably one of the most tedious pieces here because it's going to be an L shape around this door here and then into that doorway there. The best way that I found to mark and cut this, I like to cut it upside down because of the way that the saw blade spins, it pulls up to prevent any chipping. What I like to do is mark the back side, but being that this has black foam on it, what I do is I mark it and cut where I need to cut with a razor blade, and then I take this foam pad off the back and it peels pretty easily off of there, and then whatever part that the pad is not on is the part that I cut out, and it makes it really easy to cut this backside like this. And you can actually see where I scored it with the razor blade too, which makes it pretty easy to cut. Here's the foam padding that comes on the back. Pretty nice that it's already installed. Makes installation super easy. So let's get this piece cut, see if it fits, or see if I have to do it again. I hope it fits. All right, got the tricky piece cut. Let's see if it fits. All right, so I really didn't want to end with a small piece like this. This is only about 3/4 wide, but it's actually going to be underneath the door frame anyway. So even if this broke off, I'm not going to see it, or if it separates, so it'll be hidden anyway. Let's see if it fits. I hope so, because I really don't want to have to recut this piece. Oh yeah, it's going to fit like a glove. I just got to get it to lock in. All right, fits good. I just got to give it a little tap to get it to lock in, and should be good. And made a little bit of progress here. I'm going to finish this out. But we debated on whether to keep running full planks in here because one plank would fit, but we decided to keep the seams throughout here to keep it uniform because it's one of the main points of focus right here at the bottom of the steps. And my wife didn't think that not having a seam here would have been noticeable. So we're not sure if we're going to do that in the pantry or not because the pantry is exactly 6 feet wide and most of it's going to be shelving in there, so you're not going to see many seams. But I don't know, we'll decide when I get to that point what I'm going to do. All right, everyone, so we're making really good progress so far. We got pretty far over here. I moved the couch over and now I'm ready to finish out this main part of the room. So this is what we got going on here. We got 3 dry rows laid out, ready to keep going. We got about 7 more rows to go and then I'll be in this hallway here. But let me show you what I decided to do in the pantry. But I'm loving the variations on this floor here. It looks really awesome in my opinion. So in the pantry here, we decided to just keep the seams instead of running with straight full planks. That way it keeps a little bit of the staggered variation going in on the Kellers instead of running just straight full planks all the way across. There is a little bit more waste doing this, but I think it's going to look amazing matching this. And if you're interested in what I did with this wall to stain it, this is actually used pallets. Go check out that video that I made because it shows you exactly what I used to get the look and the color on this wall. And if you find this video helpful or enjoyable, please consider subscribing to see more content like this. And thanks in advance, really appreciate it. Let's get back to the install. All right, everyone, we're on the last part of the big part of the room. I'm working on the last piece here and my layout worked out almost exactly how I thought. All I have to do is cut off about 5/8 of an inch off of this one, which is almost about what I cut off the first one. I just got to trim this little bit off right here for it to fit. And why the layout is important is because you wouldn't want this last plank to end about right here and then your trim knot cover it and you have to put like a little 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch piece in there so you didn't see a gap between your trim and your floor. That's why the layout is very important. You want to know where you're going to end up before you even start. All right, got it in and fits pretty much perfect. And this is one thing that this tool is good for. I can't really get my fingers in here and lift up on this. So you're gonna wanna use this tool here. Go ahead, lift up on that, bud. And you're gonna use this tool to hammer this in because you can't really pull on it. And it can be a little tricky on this piece, getting it in there. There it goes. But that's why this tool comes in handy. Just work your way down. And there's little felt pads underneath here so you can slide this down here without it scratching your floor. But this floor is pretty heavy duty, so you don't really have to worry too much about that. However, I still am gonna put felt pads underneath my couch and table and things like that just to make sure and to prevent any scratches that may happen. And don't forget to leave your 1/4 inch gap along here on your last piece as well. All right, so now we're gonna jump over here and finish this entryway here. Now these I'm gonna be laying backwards just like I did at the bottom of the steps. I gotta cut this out. That's why I pulled that foam off the back there to go around this wall here. And I'm gonna just continue this pattern matching. I have enough plank and it's gonna create a little bit more waste not using the end piece to start because I want the seams to kind of be uniform now because the biggest part of the room is all the same. So we're just gonna continue to match those seams coming through here. Gonna make a few more of these fancy cuts and get this thing finished up. But ideally, on a long part of your room, you don't want to be running your floor backwards like this. You want this big edge to be away from you as you're laying and then lock the next one in over top. These ones I got to tilt up and go underneath these. And you can do it. However, it's not really ideal and it's a little bit tougher to get them locked in and you have to worry about messing this up when you're hammering on it. So I lock a second piece in there, a scrap piece, and beat on that when I'm tapping that over. It's like a glove. All right, everyone, so we are on home stretch here. I got about 3 more pieces and then I'll be able to do the trim pieces. Now, what I wanted to show you on this is I took this door out because I have to flip this up to get the latch in, and it was just a lot easier without the door frame. Now, you could probably maybe make it fit in there without removing the door frame if everything was already trimmed out and you were trying to get underneath it. You could probably hammer it in, but it was just as easy for me to take this door out because I didn't have it trimmed out yet. But what you want to do here is, this is the transition piece to go from this to the carpet. And I'm going to try to use their transition piece from Flooret. But what you want to do is you want to put this piece so that when your door shuts, the middle of your door is exactly in line with one side of this transition strip. That way, when your door's shut, you'll see only Flooret flooring on the outside of the door, and then on the inside of the door, you'll only see carpet. If you go too far one way or the other, you'll see flooring and carpet on this side of the door when it's shut, which wouldn't look very good. So I'm gonna keep going here and should have this finished in no time. All right, on to the last piece, finally. So what I decided to do here was use a reducer molding instead of the T-molding. And the difference between the reducer molding versus the T-molding is if your 2 floors that you're meeting up with are the same height, you're gonna wanna use a T-molding. You can see how it's kind of flat, but if your floor height is taller than the floor that you're going up to or over top of, then you're gonna wanna use the reducer molding so that it gives you a nice finished edge there. Now, I noticed that this is only good for about a 1/4 inch difference in height. My carpet's about a 1/4 inch higher, so I'm gonna reverse this molding and actually put it this way down to this floor. But to do that, I have to put a piece of flooring underneath the part that it clips into to get that up a little bit higher. And then I was able to clip this down in there and finish it off really nicely. I probably could have used the T-molding as well, but I would have had to push it down really, really hard into that carpet, and that carpet might have had a little bit of roll down to it. But I think the reducer molding worked really well and gave it a really nice finished look. And last but not least, don't forget to pull your shims out when you're done so that your floor can move a little bit. I got a couple along this wall here, and I got a couple here. But don't forget to pull them out. And one quick tip is once you get started, line some boxes along on top of the first row that'll help prevent it from moving, because this flooring does weigh about 50 pounds per box. So that added weight will help keep it from shifting, but you still want to use the shims. But we're finished here. Let me show you what the final product looks like. And I think it turned out amazing. It went in really easily. I mean, I do have construction knowledge in my background, so that probably helped, but it's a huge improvement over our previous plywood floors that we've had for years. So I'm super excited. My wife's super excited. And let me know down below what you think, how you think it turned out. But I think it looks amazing with the variation in colors on this Flooret Modin Signature Series Raeburn flooring. You can see how the seams are staggered and lined up pretty evenly. We made sure they all matched, but they are all staggered, so you don't see any H patterns or any that are in a straight line. And the difference in lighting in your room is gonna make a difference on the color in the flooring too. If you have a warmer light, it's gonna have more reds, and if you have a cooler light, it's gonna be a little bit more toned down, so keep that in mind as well. But in a future video, we're gonna be showing you some of the moldings, showing you some of the finished look and a durability test once we have this floor installed, using it for about a month. And we're gonna do some other extreme testing with it to see exactly how durable it is. But with that 40 mil layer, which is 1 millimeter for the wear layer, I think it's gonna hold up really well. So if you found this video helpful and enjoyable and you wanna see that video, please stick around and I'll see you guys in that one. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to use the code above to get 50% off your Flooret samples.